Literally any minute now, right? I'm expecting my third kid.
This interview almost didn't happen. Like, I was on the phone with him last week, and he's like, listen. I mean,
when you don't live in
we're driving to a recording studio in a barn.
Barn, house.
I would think so.
Dude, we should just brought like a tent and camped.
He has a loft in the barn.
All right,
What do you want me to do?
just back up and I'm just gonna have you drive through the frame. And I'm
Well, why don't I have to back up? Walk forward.
How did I get out of here? Ow, big ditch. Ah, shit.
Ah, there he is. Hello, sir. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you face to face.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's see here. All right, so first things first, dead room.
It's magical.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the idea, of course, is that, like, no reverberation, no room tone at all. Most important part of the LEDs. So, like, if you can, kind of tactically change the vibe. Yeah, I decided, it's those little things, though, like,
Right.
Just sort of like that affect
Yeah.
how you feel when you're recording. Just some assorted gear.
The classics.
Yeah, right.
Banjolele.
Banjolele, gotta
Must.
have it. The mix room.
Analog. Respect it.
Well, yeah, we're kind of like, I'm very hybrid.
I don't even know half of what I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean,
Which makes me feel good about it.
it's just, I mean, like, isn't that audio engineering though? Speaking of buzzwords, here's a half-inch tape machine that I just bought. Actually, I'm like as in the boxes I am and intend to be. I'm super excited, but this just came in yesterday. I'm so stoked to.
So it's like
work
new.
I'll probably be running maybe the drum kit alone to this,
Yeah.
and then pretty much immediately printing it back into the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the vocal booth behind me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew I didn't want to do the dark gray. Do you know what I mean? Just because that's sorry, I'm gonna, just in case it's my wife.
Pregnancy check.
Yeah, exact pregnancy check. We're good. The secret switch to throw the vibe on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Vibes.
Vibe, yeah, again, vibe. That's sort of yes. Let's see, mic locker, very fancy. Here I am trying to show you my storage room. No, this is not my storage room. This is, right now it's my storage room. It is the future isolation. Future isolation. Yeah, right, exactly.
It's potential.
I see, right. Did you see Future Isolation on Letterman?
That's what
Their lead singer is amazing. The reactions have all been just sort of
That's what you're gonna
You're
do.
doing what in your pole barn? These all fold out. There are 2 of them. So this is 5 beds, and then we advertise 6.
The number of bands that travel and sleep on someone's floor. I feel like this is luxury.
Yeah, and you'll see out the back there's a fire pit. Oh yeah, the mixing room's a Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because rock and roll. Yeah, no, also just because the acoustics of it.
Yeah. Wow, this is dope.
Yeah, right on.
We should probably talk less, so then we can talk on the podcast.
You're listening to For the Record, conversations about music, mixing, and the creative industry. Today we are at Outsider Audio with Jesse Case. Jesse is a producer and engineer in Southern Illinois and has recently opened his recording studio in a converted barn.
It was very NPR.
Right?
I liked it. Got to get a little more vocal fry on that, and we're all things considered.
It's the whole vibe.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and what better way to kick off season 2?
Yes, right on.
Dude, well, it is good to finally meet you.
Yes, cheers.
Oh, absolutely.
Cheers to fall special edition. But can I say the brand? How?
You probably can.
Yeah, we're angling for
we're not a big enough deal yet,
sponsorship. All right, yeah. For Bud Light seltzers, which are.
They might sponsor us, though.
Yeah, you never know if we speak highly enough.
That's the thing. That's just the goal.
Although I guess if we speak highly enough, they won't have to.
Right.
They'll be like, they're already
Exactly. It
Why
feels
would we
like
pay
the
them
product
to do
speaks for
this?
itself.
Dude, well, it's good to finally meet you.
Yes.
Because I don't even remember. I think I followed your Instagram first, probably from a hashtag that I got or something. I don't even know.
Weird flex, but okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right. No, they were immediate follows and follow backs, I think.
Right.
Both being
Instantaneous.
relatively new and in the same, or generally the same.
Right. And as soon as I heard,
space.
like, hold on, this guy's building a recording studio in a barn. That's legit. Like, I was like, I want to go there.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, what's the best way I can like make it work to like go down there? And, I had some ideas, and then all of a sudden it was like, what if we take this show on the road? And then I was like,
perfect.
I've got it.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, welcome.
Dude, well, I'd love to start off with you saying a little bit about yourself for the people that are listening. And
sure.
Kind of for me too, because I don't know you.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, we've only just met ourselves. Well, yes, I'm Jesse Case. I own an Outsider Audio studio in a barn in scenic Alhambra, Illinois. Population 628.
Love that.
I think that's what's on the sign.
Soon to be 629 though.
That's true. 629. Yeah, because
Any
also,
day.
yeah, literally any minute now. Right now, I'm expecting my third kid.
This interview almost didn't happen. Like, I was on the phone with him last week, and he's like, listen, like, literally any day, my wife's going to be giving birth. So, like, might not, like, this interview might not get finished because we might have to cut it.
I'm literally on full alert here.
Yeah.
We'll see. Although I will also say Smart Money is on the full moon because both of my previous two kids have been born on full moons.
Okay.
Yeah, for which I'm trying not to read too much into
Sure.
for like, occult
It's noteworthy,
purposes.
Like,
I already live on the set of a horror movie. The last thing I need is werewolf children running around.
Right.
Or maybe, well, what would it be? That maybe they're children born to fight the werewolf? Right? So, yeah, positive.
Man, you could create a whole, like, based on a true story.
Yeah, right, exactly. We'll see. Hopefully not.
If this audio thing doesn't pan out.
Cut to some Netflix horror special about, like, the studio. Directed by the Midnight Mass guy. That's based on my life. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, my name's Jesse Case. I have werewolf children.
Yeah, please go on.
First thing about me, I have two soon to be three werewolf children. And we all live together until they rise up and kill me, a la Children of the Corn.
Love that.
Yeah. We've been out here for about 3 years. Before that, I was in Chicago for 10 or so, just doing all things music. I did a lot of work around the city. I did a lot of work at Second City, the comedy theater, where I was and remain a music director there.
Okay.
And that's kind of that was sort of my into the music industry, so I got to do a lot with them, got to a lot of production work, and then through them a lot of like just kind of their larger artistic network. So I started producing albums for comedians. That was kind of like a weird in. So I did like my first big project was TJ Miller's comedy album.
I watched the video. Was that shot here?
It wasn't shot. No, I wish.
I was like, hold on, that's a barn.
That is, yeah, right. No, that was some space that he rented in LA because he spent like just so much of his own money on that album. Like that was a lot of it. I mean, because normally when you record an album with a comedian,
right?
It's like, hey, we're gonna like DIY the crap out of this thing.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of success with that as well, of course. But like he had like. He was like newly vested in his HBO dough at that point. So like, we went to like, we were at oh god, what's it like? Electrolux Studios or something is what it's called. It's the oldest working studio in LA.
Oh, nice.
And like the guy who owns it runs or composes for like Red Dead Redemption. And all those Rockstar games and stuff like that. Incidentally, Rockstar, that venture capital group now owns Second City. So,
what goes around comes
exactly. Yeah, that's my personal Venn diagram. But so like we had it mastered at this amazing place in LA, and it was just like that was the first time that I was like really in a proper studio and like, oh, this is an SSL board, holy shit.
Right.
And here we are recording like some of the dumbest raps that have ever been put
it almost felt like
to tape.
What's the word? It felt like a disgrace to the board,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But an intentional one.
Right, right. So then it's okay.
Yeah, so that way, and then from there it was just like, I got to work with a whole bevy of folks in Chicago, and to the point where I was like, I'm gonna leave Chicago. So while we were looking for like kind of in the vein of like the 4-hour work week lifestyle design kind of thing. So I was like, well, what's a way that I can live, or at least ideally, if this thing works out,
right?
Well, like, the way that I would like to live and, kind of have some semblance of a work-life balance, which,
Right.
as we all experience, and which I, even out here continue to experience, is next to impossible in this field.
Yeah.
But, what's a way I can at least like approach that, and also, just create a spot, because I do obviously, in addition to working with bands, a fair bit of my own, production work and composition work for bands and commercials and all that kind of stuff. Is like, how can I can build a space for myself that I can work out of and also kind of tactically have bands in without spending $1 million.
Right.
So, turned out that like, property value was a big part of that equation. So
yeah. So
here we are.
Yeah. How did like the barn itself, you said when we talked earlier, you said that you moved out here about 3 years ago?
About 3 years ago. Yeah.
So which came first, the desire to live where you live or to have a studio in a barn?
I think it's a bit of both,
Okay.
because we definitely looked at like, can we go out to the, like, kind of the Chicago burbs and get like a little bit more space,
Right.
or should I like try and kind of find a rental spot?
Yeah. Instead of like
In
full
Chicago.
send in
Yes,
Illinois.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we kind of looked at all of it, and kind of as we sort of, we being me and my wife, who kind of is, has been a huge help in sort of like helping me literally do everything about this place, but the actual, sitting down at the board of it. So,
Right.
thank God for her first and foremost. But like, yeah, as we sort of started to look at kind of what we wanted and what we wanted the space to be, it sort of started trending more and more towards like, oh, barn, like destination studio, and then which was solidified when we're like, well, we should at least like go look in the general area. Cause part of it also was like, we had the first year of our first kid was in Chicago in a condo with no family nearby, which like, if you have kids, is impossible and horrible. You know what I mean? Like shout out to, also just like, that's a fundamental weakness on my part, because there's single mothers out there who are doing it with no resources whatsoever. And like, so those are the everyday superheroes. Right. But like, and Eve, my wife and I working together in tandem, not having family around, we're like, this has to stop. So we're like, let's at least look, now that we kind of have this idea brewing, kind of down in the general vicinity of where her parents live and where she's from.
Okay.
Which is kind of why we picked this area.
Okay.
And pretty much immediately found this place.
Yeah.
Which was like, this gigantic barn. That's what we were, size to avoid like, near-term reflection, looking for some kind of like natural acoustic quality to it.
So the idea was kind of at the same time, let's find a house and let's find
a house with a barn, or if we can, one of the things we thought about doing was like, if we can find like a barn just sitting by itself that maybe we could kind of commute to. So that was, in the picture, but it's like the barn market's real cold right now, folks, in case you're looking, or they may have changed since the pandemic. I don't know. Maybe barn real estate has gone through the roof.
Who knows, right?
You have to talk to my realtor. My barn realtor.
You have a barn guy.
Yeah, I have a barn guy. Yeah, exactly. Listen, if you live in Southern Illinois, first things first, got to get a barn guy.
You gotta get one. It's like a must.
Yeah, exactly. But then, pretty quickly kind of found this place that checked most of the boxes. Instead, the barn, we found out, was built in like the 60s.
Okay.
Or 70s. So it's a real like vintage barn. But then the house, we're on 5 acres that were basically just like they cut a little triangle out of the surrounding, what must be 900 acres of farmland. So like it's on 5 acres, but it's also in the true, as you saw, middle of literal nowhere.
Like it felt like I was on a driveway, but it was a road.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. We have all these. We have all these Halloween decorations out there. We go crazy for Christmas. Probably get 15 cars in October. So like, it's just it's all outward facing. I don't know. We should face it towards the house because nobody's seeing that shit.
That'd be really funny.
Yeah. We're like at the back, but so and then cut to like 3 months ago. When we finally. Got it open after pandemic related delays in construction and building and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Well, that's exciting. The place looks legit.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm stoked that I finally got to like see it.
Yeah, see it in person, right? Yeah, the Insta doesn't do it justice.
Right. I mean, I saw pictures of it, like, and I would show like Ben or other people, like I was like, he's literally just like wheeling a giant analog board and on like a cart right now. That is amazing.
I literally
That's a
did.
vibe.
I got it in Chicago, and I just happened to find it on Facebook or something. I was like looking for a deal.
Yeah.
Because I was like, building on a budget, you kind of got to figure out, okay, what are like going to be the tentpole things?
Yep.
And I'm mostly in the box, so I was like, a board is going to be like. I looked at doing like the slate thing for a minute, with kind of the, and going all in and I looked at like a digital board like we talked about, just to sort of kind of build it into in the box, and then found a hot deal on the Topaz, and I was like, I'm going for it.
Dude. Yeah, the analog world of things is something that I'd like to get more into.
Yeah.
I'm just not super like knowledgeable in yet, but it's a process.
Yeah. It's definitely like it's gotten to this is a podcast episode in and of itself. So and also like I don't want to get you or me and a bunch of angry hate mail from like the from the reel to reel people.
Right.
Who are like on Gearspace right now stalking looking for naysayers. But I think that the way that I have decided to use and like, case in point, I had like just maybe, I don't even know if it's on camera right now.
Probably not, but we'll get it later.
Yeah, for sure. You can, we'll do a hot cut in right now.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm the intern at Caffeinated Records, and I would just like to take a moment and thank you for watching For the Record. And if you haven't, like and subscribe and turn on that notification so you get notified whenever there's a new episode, and we'll get right back into it.
Yeah.
All right. So right now is the camera montage of the nice.
Yeah. Ooh, look.
Yeah,
ooh, look.
just,
here's the preamps, and here's the
right. Yeah.
And so like this, that's my analog purchasing has all been very tactical, based on like, do a sound that I perceive might appeal to certain bands who like, but also and more importantly like. Sound that maybe would be really, really hard to authentically get in the box.
Yeah.
Right? So where you really, really want to hear all the artifacting that comes from analog, right? Because good analog approaches digital. Right. That's
right.
So like just get digital.
If
you're looking for just good sound, just get digital. But if you're looking for like a real kind of tactical infusion of analog into a digital environment, or at least that's what I'm looking for, and that's kind of inform my purchasing.
Yeah. It feels like that's kind of the future, right? Like obviously everything was analog at first because that's just how it was.
Yeah.
And then, when digital came into the world, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. And I feel like now we're at a spot of like, how can we do both well?
Yeah, right. What was good about both? I think
like
that's
a hybrid.
exactly right.
Yeah.
The hybrid space.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Because like, it's the same thing with like when stereo came out, suddenly they were like grotesquely misusing it, that's why everybody hears like the mono re-releases of like, I don't know, Bob Dylan or the Beatles or something, where it comes out the way it was like originally mixed. You're like, dang, this sounds good as hell.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, because they put like, John Lennon way off left, just because they could, like, it'll sound like you're in the room with them.
Like if you listen to the right speaker isolated, it's a different song.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, and then similarly, like if you listen to like early digital shit, like all the kind of like early ADAT, it's just so crispy, which you don't even notice, I think, until you kind of, start really listening for it, which is just sort of a general thing that I will never keep in mind, but should, is like nobody's listening to music the way that I listen to music. And I've ruined music for myself by sitting on this side of the board for too long.
Yep.
But like now I listen to stuff like that, and like it's like almost,
you get critical.
Yeah, it's almost unlistenable. Early digital, like like some of those early like my wife is like a super like 90s country fan, and like all of those real like early ADAT like country records are just like thin.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
And you're like, I could do so much better.
Well, I'll stop short because given the technology they had, and also because like then it's like, oh yeah, well, prove it, bud.
Right. And you're like,
just listening now to some of that stuff, it's like they really went all in on getting that high end back that you lose when you go to tape, especially like half inch.
Right. So what has been, in your experience, it could be in this studio, although it's pretty new, so maybe it's not. What's been some of the craziest recording situations or stories that you've been in? I know you said you worked a lot with comedians, and that has lent itself to some pretty ridiculous things. But if you had to pick like this was just, I didn't think I'd be here.
Right. The TJ Miller album is probably a really good example, just because that was like a real, just in terms of experience, like 0 to 60.
Yeah.
You know, like going to like these unbelievable studios.
Yeah.
And like here I am bringing like a beat that I made on like Logic stock drums, you know, like wholly out of my league. Like one guy, I'm actually doing this now, but like one of the guys I was working at, really, really incredible dude at this studio, 4th Street Studios, where we did some kind of like ancillary tracking. That's in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Really, really cool boutique studio that sort of is like, they had a loft space like I have, and it was just this really awesome spot, and rolled in, and they were running Pro Tools, like we were talking about earlier, through tape, but not to tape, right? So you could do like secondary tracking through a tape machine.
Okay.
You know, and like get that tape vibe without having to print, you know, like or to record to it separately, and then like spend the time reprinting. You know, so he spent like 10 minutes walking me through this, and somebody might as well have been like speaking Portuguese to me. And then like later, after, the only thing I could think of was, why? But why? You have the, you know, so like, I was just so incredibly out of my depth. And I can't even really like listen to that album anymore, to be honest, because so much of the production is so like when I get, you know, so much stuff that like you just don't know not to do, like handing a thing that had already been put through a limiter, just like that I was keeping on my Logic like master bus, just because, just like, well, that's how you get it not to peak, you know, like, and then handing that to like a legitimate mastering guy, you know, who was charging us like multiple thousands of dollars to master this album, handing him like, you know, waves that I had already run through a limiter, you know, and have to be like,
here you go.
Okay. Yeah. Here it is back with like some EQ, I guess. I don't know what, you know, so just like not knowing fundamental stuff, and like, also, though, you know, realizing after the fact and trying to keep in mind that stuff doesn't matter as much as I always think it matters. You know, like I did, this is another wholly unrelated crazy story from the opposite side of the equation. Where like, I did, so like through my work with Second City, I got, you know, and working with comedians, one of the guys that I work a lot with is Chris Red, who's on SNL. And I got a chance early on to produce a beat for SNL for like a track that they were making.
Wow.
For that ended up going up on the show, which is like,
nice.
That writer's room also, by the way, is the most brutal room. I'm not,
really?
I have very little, I have only ancillary experience through kind of continuously pitching stuff with Chris. You know, this is all a couple years ago at this point. You know, but like, you know, we pitched one thing, got it, and I was like, oh great, this is easy. 10 more things, you know, that I kind of would send him beats for, none of which, you know, so
like,
like,
I don't like this.
Well, they only take the, you know, I guess the idea is the cream rises to the top, so everybody's pitching 1,000 things, and then the, you know, what they perceive as the best makes it to the show. This thing, you know, God willing and the creek don't rise, made it to the show. And so like,
you got a text, is that your wife?
Let's see.
Just gotta
no,
do
it's not. Thank you very
pregnancy
much.
check.
No, it's not. Yeah, pregnancy check. We're good.
Got you back. Sorry, go on.
Thanks, bud.
SNL.
Right. So like, so this thing, like within a week, this thing that I had made like on a whim with him 6 years ago, this beat, he's like, hey man, we're pitching this thing. It's like this track that was tentatively titled Permission, which is this, you know, the joke of it is like, it's this hot club track, but it's talking about like consent and like, you know, just rapping about like really making sure that you're like respectful, you know, like,
we're just like a really dirty beat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's this, you know, on this beat that I had, like, I kind of, had more production experience within the sort of, you know, the 5 years that I had made it with Chris. But then he's like, hey, I'm pitching this for the show. So I sent him the beat, sent him a newer version of the beat. So within a week, Lil Wayne gets on it because he's the musical guest. Yeah, it's like, hey man, Lil Wayne's gonna be on this track. It's like, oh shit, okay. And then suddenly I still don't know how this happened. Like Chris texts me, he's like, Future is gonna be on this beat. It's like, what? Like, he's not the musical guest. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how this. I still don't know. But suddenly Future is on this. So he's like, can you work up Like, can you add a new section? You add another 8 bars so Future can get on this.
And you're like, sorry, I just can't.
And then like, yeah, exactly. No, I can't. Sorry, I'm really busy.
You're like, listen, that song has to be as many bars as it is.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Listen,
cap.
it's 3 minutes and out. Exactly. So, but then of course, it goes through this like intense series of rewrites because suddenly a team is on it, punching it up and kind of like making it as, as getting as many eyes on it ahead of time and like, adding verses for like Pete Davidson was on it as this is like he was playing this character Uncle Butt, and like
it's really funny to me thinking that there's just such an intense writing room for a comedy sketch show.
Oh, it's the most intense because they have to. I mean, like the theoretically the speed of it will undercut the quality. So you have to get the quality back through like intenseness of vetting, right? I guess,
right. It's just like a group of people like intensely being like, all right, so Uncle Butt is gonna it's just like it's just a funny.
I've known a lot just through Second City. I've known a lot of people who've been in that room, and they all come out just like. Eyes glazed over at the end of it, I mean, some people really work well in that situation, and God bless, because some people also are just like, I didn't, you know what I mean? And with good reason, that shit's intense. I saw the narrowest glimpse into it. Yeah. The narrowest glimpse. And even then I'm like, holy shit. Right. But so suffice to say, like, this suddenly is like this fucking A-list track. And
you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. It's amazing. And the video turned out great. Yeah. I sent like the guy who was working on because of the speed, like their music director, I kind of was in touch to sort of like send, because he's the guy who does a lot of their production. He's amazing. He's won all these Emmys for his work. Okay. I kind of only know him again, very, very tangentially. Yeah. But I sent him just for the sake of the demo, like a mastered MP3. Okay. Right? So it's already kind of gone through like, some very limited processing on mine, but at least to kind of like get it up to like a radio ready, LUFS, all that kind of crap. Right. With the assumption I'm going to send, I have a negative 6 dB track already. I've done some stuff to it, and I send him this. And he's like, oh, no, we're good. And I was like, what? He's like, oh, no, we're good. The track you sent is good. It's already in production. You're good. I'm like, you put vocals over my mastered MP3. You put Future's vocals over my mastered MP3 and mixed it that way. And I know.
Did it sound like karaoke?
See, this is the thing. I kind of don't like how it sounds on you. And then also is keeping in mind, you have to mix to certain LUFS to, to have shit not get reduced on like YouTube and on Spotify. Okay, what I mean? Yeah. You got like Spotify does like -14 or whatever. So if you're too far up above that, then it'll just knock your shit down. It'll sound way quieter than everybody else's.
That sounds like a conversation we need to have.
That is a whole conversation. Yeah, that's a whole.
Teach me your ways.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's Spotify effectively putting an end to the loudness wars, which again is an entire. See, that's a series of podcasts, and I know because I've listened to a series of podcasts. Yeah. It's called The Mastering Show. It's very good. Okay. Yeah, okay. It's a mastering podcast. Yeah. Shout out, exactly, to Ian Fuck, whoever. Is that his name? Ian Fuck. Yes. No. Anyway, very, very well regarded. Mastering engineer who hosts this podcast. Yeah. So so you send something. Already this thing, the file that I sent him without any vocals on it was well above the ideal, YouTube level of mix. Then you're going to add vocals to it and mix it again. I'm like, no. Cut to it coming out, it sounds fine. You know what I mean? Right. It sounds like it does exactly what it needs to. The vocals are clear. You can hear the beat, but it does,
like in the name of fairness, you're probably not going to get like super like arrogant audio engineers trying to like critique comedy rap, right? Well, that is probably, until I put it,
until I try and go and put that shit on my portfolio,
right? That's true.
So I'm like, oh no, man, that sounds pretty smashed. Like, so if you've listened this far in and you're thinking about working at Outsider, just know that I would never
track vocals mix and master on a pre-mastered instrumental track
with an instrumental track that was already mixed and mastered.
Hey, live and learn, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So that's just, I have 1,000, I'm lucky to have 1,000 stories of like people who went on to get famous from like just working at Second City. Yeah. Because that, obviously that's such like a cool spot and like a, breeding ground for the who's who.
Yeah, dude. Man. So now where you're sitting in this space, like what are kind of your dreams and visions for this place going forward? You've been here officially open for like 3 months.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you're like, what's to come in the future? You know, how are we going to do this? What's it going to look like?
For sure.
So what is it going to look like?
Gosh, I guess it's like, you know, in that like B+ Queen movie with Rami Malek, whatever the hell that was called.
No, I don't.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm going to pretend I do that.
All right, word.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So there's
yeah.
this, damn it, it's the movie that just came out with, I'm going to remember it as soon as we stop taping. Yeah, Brandon, you remember, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No.
No, word. All right, cool. Ben Crouter, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Anyway, Rami Malek, incredible performance as Freddie Mercury. The rest of the movie is...
Oh, you're talking about...
like the Queen biopic.
Oh,
where he's,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, the movie
they've
that
never-
was titled based on one of their most,
exactly.
Popular songs.
100%. They
Yeah.
go and recorded a barn in that movie to
yeah?
record, I think, Night at the Opera.
Yeah.
That's the vision.
That's the gold standard?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To have the next Queen come and record their...
Yeah,
you know.
seminal. Yeah, I think, or at least like that vibe, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm necessary. In fact, maybe to an extent, I'm like avoiding that. Like, or avoiding having like, yeah, I like it being a spot where everyday bands can come out, and just have a spot to retreat. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, you saw like the upstairs and we got the fire pit out back, right?
yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
legit.
Like there's literally nothing around.
Yeah.
So like,
It's different than going into the city to go to a studio.
and then you go out to a bar and you like kind of have like the city experience, or you're like your local spot. You know what I mean? Where like this is kind of like my go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. The reason is part of the reason anyway. It's called Outsider Audio is to sort of just like the general idea of getting outside, right? Whether that's like outside the box, or it's just just the literal outdoors. You know what I mean? Which I'm from Colorado originally, but then spent those 10 years in Chicago and really started to miss like easy access to nature.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? I think there's something, I don't know, something about that. So like in a small, easy to get way, providing that. Plus just like, I mean, I think really every good studio session that I've been in, from like, the real high end studios that I've been in Chicago and LA to like, to the bedroom recording, right? That I used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Like what separated the good from the bad wasn't necessarily gear first.
Yeah.
That came into play, of course, but like what separated, what was first and foremost, it was like the vibe and the energy, right? So like that is when I talked about like what I spent money on, you know what I mean? How I allocated budget.
Yep.
Because at first I was like, get a good board, man, because that's what's going to bring the people in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you get yourself an SSL for Christ's sake, and you know what I mean? Like, or an API board, get yourself, or
you
like
gotta impress them with what you
got.
got.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Impressed with gear, which I think is like, I mean, the second I can afford it, like, it's like a small format API, that bad boy's coming in, better believe it. But
it's not necessarily like your success or failure.
Yeah, there's like, that ultimately will not contribute to the vibe as much as just like, stuff like making sure the loft is right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like making like, dumps, like how does it feel when you're recording here? How easy is it to record here? You know what I mean? Like how what's the workflow like?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're like how easy is it? How comfortable is it? How fun is it? Like how good do you feel?
Yeah.
When you're out here. So I want it to just be a place where people come and record and just like feel good.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? And whether that's a big band or it's like kind of, folks who are just starting out. I don't know. I've really like a lot of the folks I've been working with in these past 3 months have been people who are newer, to like a proper studio recording experience. And that's just like I love that.
Yeah.
Because the bar is real low.
Well, it's kind of
because they don't know. No, but you know what I mean? Because like,
you're like, hey, you ever heard of TJ Miller?
Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, it's kind of cool that, what's up?
So this died.
Oh, word.
You're a blessing because you have a plug right here.
Oh,
ready to go.
Get in there.
So I just knew it would make a noise.
Word.
I don't
Okay,
want
cool.
that to, like, interrupt, so now you can continue.
Do you feel like there's a natural? Maybe we'll just keep this whole part in the podcast.
Yeah.
We can.
Real-
I'm like, hold
This
on.
is
Real
truly
candid, exactly.
Truly candid.
This is podcast recording. This is the real podcast recording, man.
Stuff
This is real. We faked
dies.
nothing.
We faked nothing.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
There we go.
let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, hold on. Turn on the front screen, please.
You want to be able to see yourself. I get it.
That's fine. I'm sure it looks fine. Okay. Continue.
Right. No,
Yeah.
but what I was No, but like that is the thing with music, I feel like, is the culture to it really contributes to the creativity of it, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're truly into music, it's not just a matter of, you know, how does this beat sound or how does the mix sound overall or what parts are we going to compose? There's the
Yeah.
experience of it. And so that's why I think like leaning into the side of having a loft and having a studio and bringing people in, like it actually serves the music as well.
Oh, couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, like it's a recording is, you know, the people talk about hearing this, hating the sound of their own voice. You know, like, you know, you can extend that though to any instrument that you're passionate about.
Right.
You know, or any music, any song you've written that you're like, that's a really vulnerable
Yeah.
process, which I think is something that a lot of like, you know, folks who sit behind a board kind of don't, you know, they don't quite empathize with enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like how, especially for a newer artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or somebody who's really trying to do something, you know, meaningful or like do sort of something different, trying to get outside of the box.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inherent vulnerability in there.
Right, because trying to do something that no one else has done,
Or that you haven't done. Something
that you-
getting
Oh, yeah.
outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's a huge, you
Outsider
know, outsider audio. Here we
Ha.
are. Yes, exactly. I
Nice.
mean, literally though, you know, like that's, I think that something about getting away from everything is really conducive to that. I think, you know, just like in whatever way you want to kind of, you know, just separate yourself.
Yeah. I think that's a really cool vision to have. So it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, like the goal is not so much to have big names in, although if that happens, it's great. It's more to be the studio that like someone comes in, it's like someone's first studio and then they go off to something big and you're like, hey, I recorded their first album. Like I was kind of the launching pad to get them there.
Sure. Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's it. And even, I think to expand on that even more, just a spot where people can come to do something different. Right? Like whatever that is.
Yeah.
And do it like, you know, productively, efficiently, you know, safely,
Yeah.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
You know, and just like get out and do it, man. You know, like that's a retreat.
Yeah.
Well, that's the cool thing with this spot is it's like so out in nature.
It really is.
You know,
Like, you
it's-
couldn't be more
it's a
outside.
retreat. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, it truly is. Like when you think of a retreat spot, it's like,
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
you got a fireplace out back, and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
totally.
Also, yeah, there's a whole ass fire pit out in the back. So yeah,
Yeah.
that really kind of
Yeah.
works with the brand.
right, we gotta have a bonfire tonight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're welcome to light it up. I think the wood is truly soaking wet, but
Hey, we can try.
like, yeah, right. We can try. We'll get it on film later. Here's pause for a cut.
Yeah,
A
some
cut
more
in
B-roll.
from that.
Some more
Cue
B-roll.
B-roll.
Some
of
B-roll from
bonfire.
the
Ben on fire running across.
Right, exactly. B-roll. Also, like another. There's what's the name of it? I'm gonna say Eagle Wind Studios, and I'm gonna be wrong. But there's a place up in the Colorado mountains that
Okay.
was sort of like pretty well known, that like where like I think Elton John recorded a few records, which was just like this beautiful retreat studio that I emulate.
Yeah.
Except for having burned down, having been a total loss, I think in the 90s or 80s or something.
Dang.
I know. Yeah. Right. So, you know, but I built a fire pit. So, you know,
You
my
should reach
fault.
out to Elton John and be like, listen,
Listen, yeah.
does this look familiar?
Just standing.
I'll call him up. Sorry to bother you, Elton. I don't think it was his studio, in fairness. I think it was, you know, like somebody who was in like ELO or something.
Right, but you know.
That's also wrong.
you,
Guarantee you that's wrong.
you never know until you ask.
That's true. Right, exactly. Yeah, just when in doubt, call up Elton John, right?
When in doubt, call Elton.
That's
into those
that is
DMs.
like that's why I'm so glad that I have like my wife in the picture as opposed to me, because I'm like, this is such a stupid stereotype, but I'm super bad at self-promotion.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what I mean? It's like one of those like weenie things that people use as like a point of pride.
Yeah.
You know, just like, I'm so into the art and I'm so bad at, no, you're, you know, like, you're just a weenie. That's all it is. You know, but my wife in the meantime is like, hey, Breland's coming through town. Like, you know, like he would be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the guy who did, he's like the, you know, Breland?
No,
like,
I don't.
Oh God, he's just the best.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like,
Okay.
I was gonna say up and coming, but he's here.
Right.
You know, like relatively new though. He's
Yeah.
like kind of country fusion hip hop artist.
Okay.
He's like exactly the type of music
is
that I
he
like.
bro country?
What? No.
Okay.
He's like just like interesting hybrid hip hop.
Okay. That's different.
And country, like, well, I think like presenting as a country artist, but like really bring it, because I mean, country's been, you know, cribbing liberally from hip hop, you know, and then voting Republican for years now, you know, but he's like the first one like to come in, like, and he's I don't know, just for so many ways he's doing it exactly right.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like, Breland, if you're watching, come through. We'll
Come hang.
Would love to, but she's like, let's reach out, you know, like what's the worst he could say is no. And my, like, you know, my brain is like, no, you know,
Right.
yeah, don't talk to him.
Right.
Don't let him know. Don't tell anyone that we have a studio.
So of your own admission, the reason we're here is because you boy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're 100%. No, so yes, thank you for forcing me to promote myself.
Oh, this is dope.
And yeah, thank you to you and my wife.
Thank
Yeah,
you for letting
that
me
order.
promote you.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. Pleasure's all mine.
So tell me, what has been in the process of, I guess my question is twofold. What has been some of the challenges that you've faced in this field in general? And what are some of the challenges that you've felt in kind of stepping out into your own? Because you said this is kind of really your first stab at like, I'm doing this for myself.
I think that's exactly it. Is like, so my job at Second City for a long time, certainly how I got got started in music, really in general, in any kind of like pay me money kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
is as a music director at Second City. So, which is a terrible title for what it does, because it's not actually a music director at all. Basically, it's if you go see a show on one of their stages or see a touring company show, it's the person at the piano just to the left of the stage in the dark, running all the sound, doing all the sound design, any kind of ancillary production work, and playing the actual piano, of course.
Oh.
So improvising and, you know, doing the songwriting, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, that was good training, incidentally, because it's like a little bit of everything.
Right.
And also 90% of what people pitch you is like, hey, can you make something that sounds like X? So suddenly you got to like dig into like a music production blog and be like, okay, what is an 808?
Right.
For example.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how do I make something sound like Kanye?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't
It's
think
like,
even Kanye knows how to make something sound like Kanye.
not anymore. Right. So like there was that job is very much like off to the on the side of the stage in the literal shadows.
Yeah.
Right, where like if you're doing it right, you're not being noticed. You know, that's a kind of a good rule of thumb for like a musical improviser.
Yeah.
Right. And for parts of this job, ports pretty well, right? Like where you kind of like a good engineer, for example, you know what I mean? Like you should absolutely not be inserting yourself into the creative process unless it's ways that are really kind of like not noticed, you know, so you kind of have to sort of take a point of pride in being an unsung hero.
Yeah.
But also, you know, the creative output that you're participating in, you know, if it like fails or if it's not well, you know, or like by whatever measure you want to judge it,
right.
You know, then you don't have any kind of real like skin in that game. You know, you can kind of, you can continue, you can leave with your ego unbruised.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like this is Jesse Case.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this
you.
studio is like, yeah, that's me front and center.
Yeah.
On the website, you know? So like, this is really the first time that I've really undergone create. Like I don't really release, I put out like an album of original stuff when I was whole different story, working on a cruise ship.
Wow.
And like, yeah, for a very, very long story short, had a lot of time to kill. So I had like a mobile recording rig with me on said cruise ship and made like an album. That's the last time I've really released like original stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, so other than that, it's all been like, hey, I'm producing this thing for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like my name is attached in a very ancillary way. Or when you're working on the Second City stages, like you're not real, you're doing a lot of the songwriting.
Yeah.
But you're not like, your writing is all very like intentionally subservient to what the cast are writing because they're billed as the writers of the show. Right. So like having something where like, this is Jesse Case, this is him, front and center, buckle in, it's mentally challenging.
Yeah.
It's truly horrifying.
Right.
I hate it and I quit.
You're like,
This is it, folks.
well, maybe if
Don't contact me.
if Outsider Audio grows and you have to hire more people, right? If that ever happened, then you could
Sure.
hire someone to be like, run this. Let me do this.
Yeah. And even like, I mean, even of like the stuff that I do that's sort of like is theoretically like me frontline is like commercial scoring.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? So like,
What does that look like?
So, well, that's like some of the video producers that I work with, like will write to me. It's like, hey, I'm making a spot for this company. Here's the budget.
Yeah.
Will you make it? And I'll, write something kind of based on a interview with a client or whatever.
Yeah. Instead of like pulling something from a royalty-free platform.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Could be used in a bunch of other places.
It's just sort of like bespoke music for that kind of thing. Or like, like just recently I worked on one where there was like original choreography
Okay.
to it, you know what I mean? So like, and even then, like even now, this shit is out, and I'm hesitant to like say the brand name, right? Because in part, like that's such like a shadow operation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I can very easily disclaim it if
I'm gonna ask you for the links
music
to all
comes
of these
up.
things.
You got
later,
it, right? Exactly.
So that like en route to our next interview, we can
I have a
just-
few on. Well, I have like two. I have my personal website and the Outsider Audio website.
Okay.
One of which links to the other. So like,
What are they?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Plug.
No, thanks for asking.
Plug yourself. Yeah,
Thank you
nice.
for
Thank you,
asking.
Ben.
It's just jessecasemusic.com and then outsideraudio.com.
We had this conversation on the way. Jesse with an I is typically the spelling for like girls named Jesse, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
without and with the E, we had this whole debate.
Yes.
Whole debate that was like 2 minutes.
There are definitely,
It was not a long debate.
As an example, the song Jesse's Girl, I
Yep.
believe is with an I. So I think you can do it
Yeah.
both. Also, I mean, it's never defined that Jessie might be a girl in the
That's true.
song.
That's true.
But where I wonder if I don't know if they ever gender that Jessie in the song.
I guess they don't.
Very forward looking, Rick Springfield.
I guess you
Yeah,
just
look
have
at
to
that.
just assume
Yeah,
based
right,
on like
exactly.
the era, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
they haven't decided yet.
This is right. Yeah, gender's a spectrum.
Educated
yeah.
guess.
You heard it. Yeah, exactly.
You're
Right. Well, either would suffice to say, yes. Theoretically, Jesse, the I makes it so short for Jessica. It's a weird pet peeve I have
that
when people
makes
spell my
sense.
name with an I.
I could see that being frustrating.
It's just such a dumb thing that
mean-
nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like
Your feelings are valid.
Yes.
you know?
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So yeah, like yes, that's the girl way.
Right.
Yes.
girl
Yeah.
way.
No I. So yeah, no I and Jesse when you're typing it in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
JessieCasemusic.com.
JesseCasemusic.com. Yeah, where there's some like rando commercial scoring. Like there's one up there that I did for like Walgreens back in the day, and just a couple other small things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. Do you have plans for expansions and things in this space? Like, I haven't done this yet, but as soon as I can, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think in a dream world, like I'll do the bigger barn.
Yeah.
Which is going to be tricky because the acoustics in there are awesome right now. And I know that if I do if I do like insulation around it or something wrong, so you can really like record in there in the depth of winter.
Yeah.
If I do that wrong, I'm going to ruin them. Because part of what's doing it is like these particular like, tin walls or whatever the hell these things are, aluminum.
Right.
Like, and the way that the wood is jutting out.
Yeah.
And like, kind of the, like, cause I have like my, I have a full on riding mower in there. You know what I
That's
mean?
nice for diffusion. you know?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Which doesn't like, if you want good diffusion, like, don't get a bass trap, go get yourself a Toro 56.
A riding lawnmower.
Yeah. It's just a straight up
Man,
riding lawnmower.
this
Just park
stuff
it in
does the
there.
job.
Exactly, man. I'll tell you what. Yeah. That low frequency just eats it alive. No, yeah, like, but for whatever reason, it sounds amazing in there. So like, I really am almost nervous about upgrading.
Yeah.
So, but at that point, theoretically, I have, a queen budget, and I can, not the budget of a queen, but the budget of somebody that queen has
band.
recorded an album in, Or I don't know. Maybe they're
See,
similar.
my brain, the way I processed that was like twin size bed, queen, king. You know.
Oh yeah,
so
right.
Like,
And I was
you're
like
it's-
England queen.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
England
not like
queen, yeah,
full
they-
out, but you're like a step down.
Right. Yeah. Right. No. This is Well, theoretically though.
Yeah,
Yeah. The queen is like. On that scale, if I really wanted to go high, I would have said like that oil money budget, that lobbyist budget.
Yeah, you just build another barn.
Right at that point, I will build a whole other
Studio
barn.
B.
Yeah.
Studio, right? So that's like I think that's the dream. But pretty much like I was able to do everything that I wanted to.
Yeah.
On the first, because initially this was back like when, the pandemic hit, and suddenly like for a hot month in. April 2020, I had no work. I was like, and maybe music was dead. I don't know. Maybe it's like, for a minute there, I was like, okay, we're going to just like really specifically focus on St. Louis bands and local bands that don't need to stay, and we won't build the loft, and then like, as like kind of the ship righted a little bit.
Yep.
And I was able to kind of like restart construction. I was like, no, you got to get the loft out here. You got to, spend the money, because that's such a crucial part of the vibe and of what the space is. Because even like, I feel like even St. Louis bands, like it's a couple artists from Collinsville, which is, half an hour away, even them, even that short, there's just like an appeal of like,
Coming here.
You come here and you're here.
Yeah.
You park your car, you unpack.
Yeah.
You stay,
Yeah.
you maybe have a few drinks, or like, smoke some pot or whatever. And you can just really, sit in it. And you don't have to worry about like what's going to happen. You don't have work the next morning.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that would be really appealing to me as a musician, to be like, man, like we're going to make an event out of it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to like
It
try
is
to
a
crank out some
retreat.
hours.
It's a retreat. Yeah. I mean, like,
totally.
so part of what influenced it, honestly, is there were so many bands, a couple of whom actually have since come down here,
Nice.
in all or in part, who like this is like, they're not maybe musicians who are like ever really hoping to make a career out of it. It's just like, this is what I love doing. This is what I spend my disposable income on.
Yeah.
And the band comes down, and it sort of is like a vacation. It's like a guy's weekend.
Yeah.
Like where you kind of go out and you record your album, and we just like, the band is just, we're doing this because we love it.
Well,
Yeah.
for bands that tour a lot, like
Also, like any band.
this is so different than tour, because
Right.
you just are staying in a spot. You're really getting away from city life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and to that point, like usually, if you're a touring band, you're in cities, you're in noise all of the time, and like you have a specific timeline to record your album. Like we have to go and we have to write the stuff, we have to get it done because we have to go back on tour.
Right.
And so being able to have a space that feels like a pause, even though it's productive, is
Yeah,
still
exactly.
a break.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds, because
Yeah.
like, as I'm sure vacations are really tough.
Yep.
Like mentally, when you really like what you do.
Right.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? Like, speaking of work-life balance, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, yeah. So when you
That's
sort
what
of,
we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I was like, we said offline there was something we were going to talk about,
Yeah.
and then we didn't, so we talk about it on the podcast. Work-life balance.
yeah, right. So this is a good spot if you're somebody who's very, like me, very bad at work-life balance and has real no desire. You should, but you also have like no desire to like actively instigate it
And
into
you
your life,
sort of
because you just
live
want to
at
be
your
working.
work
Yeah,
because,
exactly. Your
like,
work
your
is your
house
play,
is-
and it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
But also I mean, and we probably have all experienced this. Your work will really rapidly start to suck if all you do is work.
Right.
You need that mental break. So the balance here, theoretically, especially for a band who's like on tour, you can take a break from the tour.
Yep.
You get a really like legit loft space to chill out at. And also you can like appease your monkey brain
Right.
by like getting a track done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you record a single, or you like, I don't know, you plug your laptop in. This is all Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
So you just plug your own laptop in, you upload your own project, and everything goes zoop. Suddenly you have access to all this gear that you can just like then take your project with you.
Yeah.
Any and all the above.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Work-life balance. I feel that. Like I mean, being someone that we just started Caffeinated Records like just over a year ago.
Yeah.
Mid-pandemic, where you were like, I'm gonna pause to build something. I was like, I'm gonna start something.
I remember like
Chips in.
fucking it was December 2019.
Yeah.
I was sitting there with my wife, like turn to midnight, like we just both feel so good about 2020. It's gonna be our year, like
best
this,
year
yeah,
yet.
exactly. The build is gonna blow up.
Yeah.
We finally got the budget figured out. Our contractor set the time aside.
This is our year.
Yeah, we got a timetable.
Yeah.
Yeah, opening summer 2020, Outsider Audio. Set it on the website. Set it, God damn it.
Yeah.
Cut to. Oh my
man.
God.
But like, starting a business, as you know, like there's just so much to it.
Oh,
And like you had the advantage for sure of having like a decent, steady stream of people that knew about you, word of mouth and things like that. But even so, like there's just so much to it. And it's what I didn't
horrible.
expect, but what I had learned is when you're leaving a job and you're now working for yourself, doing it all yourself, you can't really hang up that hat.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, anybody in any kind of business and any like book on entrepreneurship, tell you like, buckle up, buddy.
Like you have to be a hard worker.
Yeah, you have to like it. You have to legitimately like it. I think
Somebody told me, like somebody mentioned recently to me, they were talking, they were like, hey, so you're like self-employed, you work for yourself, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, so you get to like work whenever you want, right? And I was like, ha. It's like, it's a lot more like, I never stop working,
right?
Because it won't let me.
Yeah, right. Well, you do work whenever you want, but you have to want to work all the time.
Right. That's the thing. But so trying to find time for that balance, like you said, not just because it's healthy for you as a person, but in the creative world of things, you kind of need it or your work will suck.
Yeah. What's the it's either like a. I think it's Ernest Hemingway. And, like, shout out in the comments if I'm wrong, has a quote that I'm going to vastly, misquote right now.
You tried.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's like, one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, talking about, like, he's got a great quote that I am not even going to attempt to recreate in full about you need it, like, go out and do other shit besides writing. Otherwise, you'll be a bad writer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, in Hemingway's case, it was, drinking and and hunting.
Was he the guy? This may be a totally different thing, but someone basically like as a writer saying like you have to go out and live life so you have things to write about.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's that. It's yes.
Yeah,
it's the same or a similar quote.
The creative process requires context of living life. To
you gotta have to. You can't just write about writing. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got. And I think like just to extrapolate on that, I think there's a mental state that comes from having a break.
Yeah.
Right. Like even. It's as simple as stepping outside for a minute so so you have fresh ears.
Right.
Taking or like just go walk around for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Like it's the pro tip, having kids is great for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just because, they like, if you're doing it right, require, your full time and full attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like where you're like, okay, now I have to force myself to clock out or my kid is going to grow up to be a serial killer.
Right. Yeah.
or a werewolf.
Right. Either or.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they were born on the full moon.
Right.
So that's it's so being literally right next to my house is good for that.
Literally a stone's throw.
Yeah, exactly. And also like one thing that I found out here is like I really, really like taking care of my lawn. I really love it. So endearing. That's hence the riding mower. Right. And all the various
it's not just for diffusion.
It is not
multi-purpose diffusion.
It turns out, I know, go figure. They're also very good at cutting 5 acres in a short period of time.
Man.
Yeah. Like,
can a bass trap do that?
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. Get on it, ATS Acoustics. Inadvertently found a a spot where I can go out for 2 hours and put headphones on, and for a while I actually have forced myself not to listen to music podcasts. While I mow my lawn, because for a minute there I was listening to Ian Fuck's mastering podcast and like Six Figure Home Studio and shit like that.
I do know, yeah,
like all that kind of, which is, or like what's the other? There's another one, the producer Produce Like a Pro or whatever. There's
something like that. Yeah,
handful of these that are like incredible resources.
Yep,
but like was not taking an adequate mental break from just thinking about it all the time. Right. So like
you're
now
still just doing it.
Now I listen to like Critical Role, which is a D&D podcast and has nothing to do with audio production. Just go, like that.
Take that break.
Just tune out from your shit for a minute.
You know what I've gotten super into recently?
What's that?
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, there you go.
Like late night vibes, just turn on some like 1950s music. Man, that has just become far too big a part of my life.
Dude, I'm at the point now where I have to stop listening to music. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll literally force myself, like that's why, hence D&D.
Right.
Force myself to stop listening. Cause like it's hard to turn off. Yeah. Like you get so, not even necessarily critical anymore, but just like the way that you listen to music and the way that you evaluate, the way that you absorb music changes.
It's not entertainment anymore.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I still love shout out to Breland.
Right.
Love a good jam, you know what I mean? And can let loose to one, of course.
Yeah.
And, I still enjoy music. It's not that, but like... If you're not just something about like you start hearing stuff, like I wonder how they got this snare sound, or like like what's the vocal chain,
right?
Like this seems really squashed. I wonder like what how did this get through?
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Yeah, so like it's so important and so hard to do. And also, flip side of the coin is you're so lucky to be in a situation,
right?
And in a job where like you like it so much that it by osmosis absorbs the rest of your life,
right?
And never lets it escape.
The downside of doing what you love for a living is you feel like it kind of it takes over. Like, oh, this is now no longer just my pleasure. This is work.
This is right. Exactly. A dream job is still a job.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not a fucking, like, it's not a downside, whatever. I'm so lucky. I'm the luckiest man in the world to get to own a studio.
Like,
it's a symptom. It's something to be, exactly. It's something to watch out for.
Right.
Yeah, but there's not a downside. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who, like, clean shit for a living.
Right.
You know,
you're not doing that.
That job has a downside.
Although, like cleaning up tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trying to fix some really bad vocals,
Whatever. I love it. You know what I mean? Even when it's bad, I love it. I have to. Yeah. That's the job, right? And truly, that's an interesting conversation altogether, or separately, is just like part of this job is, I was just saying this to somebody who was recording here the other day, you know what I mean? Like, who was maybe ostensibly a little nervous to show me like a demo or whatever. It's like, I really do feel like it's my job as an engineer, or if it sort of starts to become like producer, or any kind of like thing that's like, if it starts to move from the back of the board to the front of the board in any regard, in any case, it's my job to love what you do, to love what you've made, right? Love it the way that you love it and see it the way you see it. You know, like, and I think that's such a crucial skill that I think gets lost in the mix of like, getting purely bogged down in technical stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you can, like, you're really, really good at dialing in a compressor.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
it's almost like loving the process.
Yeah, right, exactly. You love the you love where you love the process, you love where it's going.
Every single section of it, but you love the process of
how exactly. You love the potential of it.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. That's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, that is not a gear skill, it's a people skill.
Yes.
Yeah, the people skill. And I think that's something that if you're running the show, which you are doing. That's required. Otherwise, because especially having a retreat space. Yeah. It's about the people. And if your primary focus is how to dial in a compressor, although do that.
Yeah, learn that. You should know that for sure.
But if that's the hill you'll die on,
if
that's where it stops, then you're missing something.
For sure. Certainly missing the potential of what an experience could be. You know what I mean? Because there have been many, many successful records made by people who, like, with no social skills.
Right.
And God bless, because, they're like, the records are awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but how productive was the process? How much fun was it for the artists?
Yeah.
Like, especially if they were newer, felt like a little less sure of themselves. You know what I mean? Like, what was the kind of fallout from that, either artistically or, like, whatever.
Yeah. Dude, well, thank you so much for letting us invade your space.
Dude, yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for connecting with me, man. This is just so awesome. Dude. Stoked for season 2. Stoked to, like, I'm I'm an avid viewer of the show. So yeah, like this is great. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we'll this is not the last time we'll talk.
Right.
We'll hang out sometime if I'm ever through again, you know.
Yeah, dude, come by. I know. Well, I'm up hopefully pandemic permitting, I'll be back in kind of Chicago on a more regular basis. So
dude, you should check it out.
This is my 100% intention to come through and check out the space proper. So yeah, man, absolutely.
Man. Dude. All right. Well, thanks for being on. We'll see you guys later.
This has been For the Record. Hi.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
You okay with dogs?
I'm very okay with dogs.
Tiger?
Hello.
So these songs, leave it in.
Yeah.
Now we'll cut it.
Right.
There's just a bleep through.
Yeah.
You can just bleep out the word.
Yeah. Right.
That was another bleep. Thanks a lot.